Hey folks, this is Chris Nesmith, the Change Agent, coming in live. Folks, I'm trying to get my lighting here, so bear with me a second. For those just checking in, if you wouldn't mind putting your name next to your tag, just it's hard to read some of these tags here. I want to make this very brief. I want to keep it very interactive. This is a great training I learned many years ago from one of my mentors in the industry, Brian Tracy. It's a training I think everyone should do at least twice a year. It helped me a lot with my businesses, but also just in life in general. For those just checking in, if you wouldn't mind stating your name, I want to keep this very interactive. I want to keep it very brief. I want to try to keep it for about 10 minutes. I know we're all very busy, and I really respect your time as well. So I want to give you the content, and I think you guys are going to find this training exciting and fun. I think some of you guys may have been through it before. It's always great to have a refresher. For those who are just checking in on the, hi Jojo from the UK, how you doing? For those that are checking the replay, you're going to love this training. It's not my training. It's a training I learned from one of my mentors in the industry, Brian Tracy, many years ago. But I find it very relevant today, and no matter what your business is, you can use this training to accelerate you. Because when you really understand it and when you really break it down, folks, when it comes to business, just my opinion, it's always about you incorporated. Hi Anthony, how you doing? It's all about you incorporated, because you are the center and the focus of your business, and business is life. You're from your home life to your business life. Some people say, well, you got to separate home from business. There is no separation. I don't care how well you try to manage yourself in time. They're always going to intertwine. So you always want to focus on you incorporated when running your business. And this is something that you can do to run your business, no matter what business it is. And if you're in sales, you're really going to love it. And my opinion, again, I think everyone is in sales. When I talk to people and I mention sales, people say, oh, I hate sales. I'm afraid of sales. I don't like sales. Well, you're trying to sell me on the reason why you don't like sales. So you're in sales. But I love that. So folks, just checking in. If you wouldn't mind putting your name and where you're calling in from. I want to keep this very brief and very interactive. This is a training I learned many years ago from one of my mentors in the industry, Brian Tracy. And it's 6 questions I think everyone should ask themselves when they're setting goals. It's very important. You're going to find it very relevant. Now, what I want you to do is take out a pen. Hi, Melissa from California. I want you to take out a pen and a sheet of paper, because you're going to want to write this down. And it's going to be very brief and very fast. So grab a pen. How you doing? And a sheet of paper, and we're going to jump right into it. And for those that are just coming in late, hi Maurice from Jacksonville. For those that are coming in late, you can pick up right where we leave off at on the numbers. It's only 6 questions, so you can pick up where we left off, and I'm going to do a recap towards the end. So the first question. Now, folks, understand you only have 30 seconds to write down the answer to these questions. That's what makes it so relevant. You only have 30 seconds. So the first question, 30 seconds or less, write down the 3 most important goals that are in your life right now. The top 3 most important goals. Write them down very quickly. It can be being a better father, being a better mother, running a better business, being a better husband, a better wife. No matter what it may be, write down those top 3 most important goals in your life right now. And you only have 30 seconds. So write it down very, very quickly. For those that are just checking in, if you wouldn't mind putting your name and where you're calling in from, this is a very interactive training. We want to keep very brief. Make sure you have a sheet of paper and a note and a pen. And I speak very fast because I respect your time. But if I go too fast, just say, hey, Chris, change agent, can you slow down just a little bit? So number 2 question. Hi, Jamila. So second question, what would you do if you won $10 million tax-free in a lottery tomorrow? What would you do? What would be the first thing you would do? What would be the second thing you would do? What would be the third thing? Who would you call? Who would you go see? What would you do? $10 million tax-free in a lottery tomorrow. What would you do? Think about that. Write that down. You got 30 seconds. Write that down. Tax-free. In your bank account, ready to spend tomorrow. Okay? Now we're going to go to the third question. Now, the third question, now I want you to think for a moment. I want you to look back over your life out of all the things that you accomplished in your life, all the activities, all the people you've been involved in, all the businesses you've been a part of. What gives you the greatest feeling of importance, of mental well-being, of self-esteem? What makes you feel amazing? What are those things? When you think back over your life, over the past X amount of years, what gives you that sense of joy, that self-esteem, that, that clarity, that mental well-being that makes you just feel awesome when you think about it? The greatest feeling of importance in your life. What are those things? For those that are just checking in, I'm going to recap the questions. So right now we're on question number 3. If you can just jump in right at question number 3, and then I'll recap question number 1 and 2 as we go through. So again, for those that don't know me, my name is Chris Nesmith, the Change Agent. I work with businesses who struggle with high fixed operating expenses. I show them how to reduce their costs and save money up to 70% of their monthly expenses within just one day. But I also run several other businesses. But today, I'm here to share with you guys a training that I learned from one of my mentors, Mr. Brian Tracy, the Psychology of Achievement, that I feel is very relevant and very valuable to no matter what type of business you run. And like I said earlier in the scope, it's all about you incorporated. You are the center of your own business. So jumping back into the questions, birth of your son, promoting a 13 years sober. That's awesome. That is awesome. So folks, number 4, what would be the one great thing that you would dare to dream if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt you absolutely could not fail? Think about it. What would be the one thing you would dare to dream if you knew without a shadow of a doubt you absolutely would not fail? I mean, it's a guarantee, it's a given. You're going to achieve that goal. What would it be? Going back, being a great father, being a great mother, being a great spouse, being a great brother or sister, being a great servant to the community, being a great leader, being a great giver. What would that be? Okay, now, that's how I do not believe this value. Awesome. That's a great attitude to have. But let's just say, hypothetically, humor me for a moment. What would it be? For those that are just checking in, if you wouldn't mind putting your name, we're doing a great quick training here. I want to keep it very interactive. If you wouldn't mind putting your name and where you're scoping in from. For all my Tag Tribe members, for all my Love Tribe members in the house, we really appreciate you guys for joining us today. So let's jump into number 5. What would you do? Now this is a biggie. What would you do if you found out that you had 6 months to live? That over the next 180 days, you were going to live healthy, full of life and vigor for the next 6 months. And on that end of that 6 months, you're going to drop stone dead. Think about that for a moment. Who would you call? Who would you visit? Who would you make up with? What plans would you get into place? What would you stop procrastinating about? Who would you say, hey, I love you, I miss you, I'm thinking about you? Who would you get set up for when you pass on? Think about that for a moment. That's number 5. Okay, like I said, you got 30 seconds. So number 6, and this is the final question. I appreciate you guys for staying with me. What would you never get involved in? Never get involved in. If you know, but knowing what you know now. So think about it for a second. Knowing what you know now, what would you not get involved in today? Could it be a relationship? Could it be a marriage? Could it be a career path that you're on? What would you never get involved in again, knowing what you know today? Would you still be pursuing that goal that you're on? That business that you're building? Would you still be pursuing and building that business? If you knew then what you knew now, what wouldn't you get involved in? What wouldn't you be a part of? Great. Now, I told you these are some tough questions. But it's really to make you think, because we can sit down and write goals and make dream boards, which is great. And I do believe in that. We could put the big house and the car and the fancy trips and all, which are great. But these are some things that really, I'm going to talk about why you come up with these questions. But like I said, it's all about you incorporated. It's about really getting to know you and what's driving you. So let's just recap, and we're going to talk about the value behind these questions. Exactly. Those are just things. Those things are past. You can't take them with you. Those are materialistic things that come and go. And 9 times out of 10, they hold no value. When it comes to really true business, there is no real value in most of those things. So just to recap, these are top 6 questions you want to ask yourself when you're writing your goals. And you want to do it within 30 seconds or less. Number 1, what are the 3 most important goals in your life right now? Number 2, what would you do if you won $10 million in the lottery, tax-free tomorrow? Who would you see? What would you do? What would you buy? What would you, where would you go? Number 3, looking back at all the things you've done in your life, the activities, what gave you the greatest feelings of importance? The greatest feeling of self-esteem, motivation. Number 4, exactly, I totally agree. You sell you. Number 4, what one thing would you dare to dream if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt you absolutely could not fail? Number 5, what would you do if you found out that you had 6 months to live? And number 6, the final question, what would you not get involved in knowing what you know now if you knew it back then? So back then, knowing what you know now, if you knew it back then, what wouldn't you get involved in? Whether it's a marriage, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, maybe it's a hobby that you took up, and you feel, hey, this hobby has been wasting my time for the past 5, 6, 10 years. So now the reason why you want to write these questions down in closing, the reason why you want to write these questions down is this. When you think about number 1, those top 3 most important goals. Look at the answer, and I want you to see if you see a common theme among these questions. Among the answers. So when you think about the top 3 most important goals in your life right now, is family associated with that? Is your business associated with that? Is your personal relationships, your personal health, personal finance associated with that? And when you look at number 2, it's basically removing all the financial limitations in your life. Where, if, like we say in this business that I'm in, when I'm sitting down with potential prosperity partners and we're talking about their goals, and we go over this mindset, and you say, what would happen if, the ceiling opened up and all the money in the world dropped down in your lap? What would you do? Because you think about it, now you're not chasing a dollar. How would you spend your life? What will be your focus? So that question number 2 is, now that money's not an issue in your life, what would you really be focused on? Go back to number 1 and see if there's a similarity. See if there's a common theme there. When you look at number 3, when you're thinking back over your life and you think what gives you that greatest sense of importance, of self-esteem, of motivation, are you doing that daily? And if not, why? And think about what can you be doing to spend more time doing those things that really give you that sense of purpose, that sense of drive, that sense of well-being, that sense of giving. Number 4 goes back to those financial limits. What's that one thing would you dare to dream if you knew you absolutely could not fail. So when you start looking at questions 1 through 4, you start aligning certain things. Number 5, what would you do if you found out you had 6 months to live? See, all of a sudden, when you start thinking about your life coming to an end, you start to look at what you really value. And what was your name from California? I'm sorry. Hit a very good point. When you think about, those are just things. If you got 6 months to live, your value is going to start to change. And you're going to start putting certain priority on certain things that, I thought this was important in life, but you know what? It's not anymore. And I thought this was important, but not anymore. And now you start to reevaluate your values and what your sense of purpose is. And then the 6th question is, what one thing wouldn't get involved in, knowing what you know today, if you knew it back then? See, now it's time to make some shifts. Now it's time to make some changes. Because if you think, well, knowing what I know today, man, I wouldn't have started this business. I wouldn't have, got involved in this relationship. I wouldn't have pursued this career path for the past 20 years. You can make a change. Start today. And when you start aligning all these goals in order, you're going to start to see a common theme among all of them. And that common theme is your purpose. That common theme brings you the most sense of joy. That common theme brings you the most sense of purpose. So as you start to write down your goals, you can add, the luxury homes and the exotic trips and, the vacation home here and all this other good stuff, which is great. But make sure these key goals are in the forefront of everything, because this is what's really driving you. And it's good to do this training a couple times a year because things change. Things that may be important in your life may shift and change in 6 months. That's why it's great to do at least twice a year. But always keep those things in focus. So I just wanted to share that with you. This is not my training. It's a training I learned from one of my mentors, Mr. Brian Tracy, many years ago. He has a great set of training material online. This actually came from the Psychology of Achievement. I love his training. You can apply it to whatever business you're in. It's very generic, but it's very, very business focused. For those who don't know Brian Tracy, he's a guru in business. So I want to take a quick couple minutes. If anyone have any questions about what we just covered, if this was valuable, make sure you swipe to the left and up and share this on an Apple device, and swipe up if you're on an Android device. If you think someone can benefit from this training, feel free to share this. Give some hearts if you find value in this. I really appreciate it. I'm just here to share my experience, my knowledge with you guys. And, like they said, a blessing is not a blessing until you can share it with someone else. And I found it very valuable in my life. And I just want to pass that blessing on to someone else. And maybe they can find it valuable in theirs and they can do the same thing and share it with someone else. So I appreciate you guys checking in. For those who are just checking the replay, this is a training I learned many years ago from the Psychology of Achievement with Brian Tracy. It's 6 questions you should ask yourself when writing your goals, and it really makes you think about what's really valuable and what's important in your life. So I appreciate you guys watching the replay. I want to say shout out to all my Tag Tribe members. I want to say shout out to all my Love Tribe members. I really appreciate all the communities out there helping to build Periscope and to build our brands and to help us grow and network together. And I'll be back with another scope real soon. I might just scope later on today. I just feel in a giving mood, and I appreciate you guys staying with me. Have a blessed day. Talk to you soon.